Facebook. What's going on at your house? I'll tell you what's going on at my house. I have a living room. I can see my whole apartment right from where I'm at. That's what's going on. I cannot tell if you have your clothes on, so that's up to you. I have a don't ask, don't tell policy. So yeah, don't share with me what's going on at your house in that regard. This is Comic Spot. This is interview number 799. Sorry, TC, you weren't first. I'm not breaking. Yeah, I'm not. This is not my first rodeo. I'm doing these interviews because I want you guys to get to know and love comedians I'm getting to know. Even if I don't know them, I'm getting to know them during the interview. And I want you all to know who they are off stage, behind their masks. And I came up with that before the pandemic. So screw you, pandemic. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I have a sponsor. It's the Veterans of Comedy. So I'm a proud Army veteran, and they have my back. And woo, we got to talk. You're military, Army?
Navy, ma'am.
Navy, ma'am. Got it. Okay. So we got a lot to talk about. Thank you for your service, TC.
Thanks for the home loan.
What's that?
Thanks for the home loan.
Yeah. Fannie, may I? Nope. GI Bill. So tonight we have someone for you to get to know, and he's already cracking jokes. These comedians can't keep their mouths shut. It never happens. I don't know why I even think I can do this without interjecting their comments. Let me read you I asked him for a braggy introduction. Does he look braggy? I don't think so. He's a ham, and we're going to find out how big a ham he is. He's been up to a lot lately. TC Morgan, fresh off the Comedy Store stage. That's right, you heard. Yeah, with a movie on Amazon Prime and more coming out, TC, the Captain Morgan, is one of the hottest comedians out of Vegas. Woo! Let's get to know him. Who the heck is he? Where's he been all your lives? Let's get to know. Welcome to the stage, TC Morgan. Woo! Hi.
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Fabulous. Thanks for coming on the Little Tiny Comic Spot.
Thanks for having me. It's always an honor. Nuh-uh. This is my pleasure.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. So tell everybody whereabouts you live and like what's going on in your life through the end of a pandemic.
Well, not to quote somebody funnier than me, but Bill Burr once said, "I'm not telling you anywhere I live, okay?" But no, I stay a little bit out of Vegas. I'm a Mesquite guy, but you find me in the city in Vegas right now, pretty much on the regular. So yeah, that's where I pretty much dwell.
That's where I've been seeing you. You stay pretty busy going to different shows, and you have your own show, at least one that I know of.
I do have at least one, but I used to run a show, and I still do, out here in Mesquite. It's an outdoor show. It's an older crowd, an older community, so it's a little different setup. We bring like the corn dog truck, and we get it in within an hour. It starts at 8 sharp and it ends at 9 on the dot, kind of thing. And
wow.
I've had wonderful comedians come out, like Jay Rivera, Chris Clark, Sean Fitzsimmons. I mean, just the lot of them have came out and had a wonderful time out here at my little outdoor show that, last time pulled 90 people in, which was not a bad crowd, to be honest, of people sitting in lawn chairs and all the way to wheelchairs, and they laugh. So Jay Rivera's actually done the show a couple times, and he still won't stop talking about the first time out here, how he just had such a great time. And so as a promoter, as a knucklehead that puts on a show, I'm always honored when other comedians enjoy what I put together for them. It always makes you feel good. So, and then my partner in crime, Billy Ford, we're the tall and the short of it in comedy. And we got a little show that we do out there. We were at the patio, and then we went over to the Copacabana. And I think we're going to do one more show at the Copacabana, and then we're going to move back to earlier Sundays at the patio again. So we've worked out a deal with them. They'd like us to be there every Sunday. So we were talking about doing a feature, a headliner, and maybe one more feature, and then actually doing a bucket list style where comedians that show up that night, we draw their names, they get drawn. They're the first 3 acts that we're going to probably put up every night. So we wanted to kind of create not an open mic per se, but just the reminder of, like, Billy and I are both comedians, and we never wanted to forget that. So as hard as it is to put on a show in Vegas sometimes, because believe me, people don't just clamor in to just, I want to see comedy 3.5 miles away from the strip. But we get some people to show up, and we've had a pretty regular crowd, and a lot of support from the local comedians, which me and Billy are super appreciative, and we love all of that, you included.
Thank you.
So thank you, because if you guys don't show up, it's obviously everybody comes to support, and with the hopes of being on a show, because we're all comedians, and that's what we do, is we support each other's stuff. And at the end of the day, we're hoping to one day get up on that stage, and because you see the other people go up, and you kind of see how good it goes, or maybe not good it goes, and usually that creates that, hey, you know what, this is a good show, I want to be on this show. You've done Notoriety, you've done the LA Comedy Club. Those are shows that you feel good. That crowd wanted to laugh at you. I mean, whereas you go some places, and let's be honest, they could care less. The game's on, and you're making a bunch of noise over there on a microphone, and they're trying to get drunk and forget about their problems. So
True.
I like the crowd that likes to laugh at me too. So
Wow.
that's what we think.
Congratulations on the Mesquite show, where
Thank
you get so many people of a certain age. My goodness, kudos.
Yes. The loyalty, I mean, it's a small town. I live here. I go to the Smith's grocery store, and I get, pulled on my shirt sleeve, and I'm asked, when are you going to bring back that one fella? Or, TC, are you doing a show anytime soon? And, it gets to be, I know it's hot in Vegas, but we're even hotter out here, and the wind blows even harder. So during the summer, I people leave. We have what they call them snowbirds. So they go back to, Wisconsin and Minnesota, and, the Chicagoans, and then they come home, and it's about right now that everybody's just getting back into town. The weather's kind of, cooling out a little bit at night. You throw your jacket on, you bring your little lawn chair, and trust me, this is a funny town, because we have a dispensary and a Lee's Liquor, but nobody talks about that stuff. But I tell you, at my shows, I've seen a little bit of this and a little bit of that going on around the corner from some people that could be my grandparents. Okay.
So you got a hip older crowd.
Yeah, it's fun. I won't lie to you. Some of the kids from St. George, Utah have come out, and some of the crowd from there have come out, and we have a blast, because I went over across the border, and if you go into Utah, you got to kind of watch what you say. Most of the things that they ask you to do are clean comedy, and I'm okay with that. I'm still funny if I don't curse at you. You know what I mean? But it's also fun to be able to let one go every once in a while and see what happens. Those poor kids, they've never really had that chance. So I brought a few of them over and let them, come out and do their thing. And I mean, I have had nights where I have sat back and just laughed my ass off at a couple of them, to where I was so glad to give them the opportunity to be themselves as comedians. Really, that's most of the time, that's all I'm trying to do for all of us, is just give you your spot where you can go do your thing, because that's all I want at the end of the day.
Wow. Well, let's talk a little bit about your partner, Billy Ford. What a unique combo you both are.
Thank you.
Make a good team. Now, how did that develop?
It's a Vegas scene. When I moved out here a couple of years ago, Billy literally moved out here a couple of years ago. So needless to say, when you're the new kid on the block, and there's another new kid on the block, and you run into each other at a bar, and you don't seem to, offend each other, and you kind of laugh and you kind of like each other and you have a good time. And all of a sudden you realize that the bar's closing and you're sitting there getting drunk with them. And like, it's Billy and I were both trying to get up in a lot of the same rooms. So we had that, that guy's, I admired his hustle. I admired, what he brought out there every time I saw him. Didn't matter. He was ready to go. He was looking for a spot. And I saw a little bit of myself, hopefully, in Billy in the same way that we ran into each other at the same places, trying to get up on the same mics, trying to hustle in the same rooms. And I thought that's the guy. I mean, at the end of the day, I'd rather partner up with somebody like that than partner with somebody that, what I mean, I never see. And Billy's funny. I mean, at the end of the day, if we weren't both funny enough to be on the same level with each other, one guy would be funny and one guy would be the guy, doing all the work basically. But instead, we have two funny guys. Either one of us can go up on stage. Either one of us can host a show. If one of us couldn't be there, the other one always has the other one's back. And at the end of the day, partnerships and business, all the things we talk about are one thing, but Billy and I are friends. And that gets you by on a lot of stuff, because let's say a show doesn't do so well financially, and maybe we didn't make a lot of money one night or two. Billy and I can accept that, because at the end of the day, me and Billy split that 50-50, and that's what it is. I mean, it's and I'd rather lose with my friends than win with my enemies. And that's one of those things that I just, we've taken a few lumps on the chins, and then we've had nights where me and Billy just laughed and laughed as we, rolled away. So that's the part I really enjoy about being with Billy is I find him to be a kindred spirit.
And he's so nice to the other comics. I can't tell you how many young up and coming comics there are that have said he's reached out and really cared about them.
It's funny because Billy and I both, I mean, I used to host an open mic at the one club that was here in town called Extreme that unfortunately closed down, but I was host of the open mic for a while. So I really got to meet a lot of the new and up and comers. And of course, there is a group of people around town that are, we're all comedians and we all working. And it was nice to, rise up into that level a little bit too with some of the locals that my face got out there and stuff. And Billy and I are, I mean, at the end of the day, my grandma raised me right. His grandma raised him right. We're not trying to crap on anybody. We don't think we're funnier than anyone else or anything like that. I mean, it really is that kind of environment that I'd rather see people do well than not see them do well. And so but Billy is mean when it comes to booking the shows. I mean, he is the toughest guy to get through. I always say yes to everybody like an idiot. And then I remember, well, wait, I got to tell Billy. And Billy's like, I haven't seen the tape. I haven't seen it. I'm like, Billy, you are going to own a club one day, buddy. And I'm going to be working for you.
Yeah, that's great. He is a stickler on details. I've seen that in a good way.
Oh yeah, no, I mean 100%, because I get a little goofy and I get a little happy, and I got a lot of love, and and we're at the end of the day, nobody wants to call and ever wants, it's not a bringer show. It's you never want to hear those words come out. But let's be honest with each other. If there's no asses in the seats, who's paying who? So Billy and I have always been trying to be selective of, we're looking for people that understand what we're doing, as much as we want you to get your stage time. God knows if you bring a few people and they bring a few people and you bring a few people and, all of a sudden a couple of our friends like you show up, that's a nice little crowd. And if we get at the end of the night and me and Billy do okay, not only have we paid every headliner that we've brought out, but we've tried to pay almost every feature, and we've tried to take care of the comedians here in town, because we respect what they do. And really at the end of the day, we all want to make a living at this. If you're a professional comedian, and it's not easy. So
not, I can't tell you how many times I've put on little tiny mics and shows and dipped into my pocket to pay people, because I don't want people to go away without getting paid, but sometimes I can't afford it. So you do it.
I learned early in the business it's funny because I used to fight. I was in martial arts for a long time and a kickbox, and I was on, the telly doing that stuff. And there was some shady people in that business, and they'd promise you the moon and the stars, and then they'd give you $200 at the end of the night,
Wow.
And so it was one of those things where I risked my life to make, what I could have went and worked at 7-Eleven and made in about 3 or 4 days. but I loved what I did. And so when this world kind of transitioned, I also never wanted to be known as one of those people. I never promised anybody anything I couldn't deliver. And
Wow.
that's been my, my kind of my motto the whole time as a promoter. Even when I was putting on martial arts stuff and stuff like that, I never told anybody I'm going to pay you this much and then slide in underneath. I mean, that was back in the day when you talk about a bringer show. As a fighter, I used to have to go to the grocery store and stand out front and sell tickets to get paid. So, we complain as comedians, but I used to do that and then go get my ass kicked.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
I mean, I
Wow.
only got my ass
Oh,
kicked a few times, but it happens.
oh my gosh. Well, let's go back in time before you grew up, like grade school, high school.
I had a beautiful Jufro.
So where did you grow up and were you funny?
Yes. I'm from just out of like Oakland, California, back into the Central Valley. It's called Stockton. We lived in Oakland, for 5 minutes it seemed like, but when I was real young. But no, I'm a Central Valley kid. Stockton is a rough around the edges place. I tell one of those jokes in my set about, Stockton's where the people from Oakland go to get stabbed. So it wasn't easy. And goofy white kid, short, chubby at first, and then grew into a long, skinny fella. And like I said, this is all natural. It's, I didn't have Angie Crumb do my hair yet, um, but it's definitely coming. But no, I did. I played some basketball. Had a goofy Jufro flying around like I was stuck in the '70s. And I started boxing at 8 years old. And I wasn't the tough guy. I started boxing because my dad did it, and it was one of the things I enjoyed. And I wasn't trying to fight everybody all the time, But I thought, if at least I knew how to fight, I could fight if I had to. And
So
uh,
were you and your dad good at boxing? Because my dad was a boxing promoter in Portland in the 60s. He was a white Don King.
Yeah, my dad was a pretty doggone good boxer. Little short to be on the heavyweight side, but as a light heavyweight, he had a pretty decent setup on him, kind of like a Irish Mike Tyson looking fella. So and we used to and I just loved it because my dad enjoyed it. And so naturally, I mean, now I'll date myself, but my dad had an Atari, and they had a game on there called boxing, and a little white guy and a little black guy would bounce around and they'd punch each other. And I beat my dad when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And at that point, I had to go train because my dad was like, no, 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 you're not beating me at boxing anyhow. So my uncle later told me that he spent the next month every day training on the Atari so that he could beat me when I came back to stay with him.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we were healthy, competitive guys. And when I got a little bigger kid, and I got, ready to be competitive in the sport and stuff, my dad would work with me and sparred with me even. And, he taught me some of the tricks that guys my age didn't know, and things that, it took you years of boxing to learn. How to deal with promoters was one of them. So, but my father's passed away now, and I miss the old guy and stuff. But yeah, there were things that he did that I mean, we used to have a telephone pole in our backyard, and he hooked the speed bag up to the telephone pole, and my dad would hit it with this combo of a backhand cross, and this telephone pole would sit there swaying. And I knocked a lot of guys out. I was a world champion kickboxer. I got bronze medal. I got all these dudes that used to chase me around that are on, the UFC and all these other things. And I don't know to the day if I could make that telephone pole sway like he did.
Oh my,
So he was my hero when it came to that. And my dad, as tough as he was the funniest son of a bitch. He thought being goofy was just we used to watch TV shows in on the Spanish channel and then translate it back. Ma'am, neither one of us spoke Spanish, so it was just ad libbed, improv, idiot stuff. He had a VHS back in the day when you had to have a camera and then a VCR and a recorder all separate, which again shows how old I am. My father used to set up the living room like it was the Saturday Night Live desk, the news desk. and he would sit down underneath the little coffee table, and I would sit there, and we would do like the fake news, and he would record it, and we would laugh and laugh. So I do have to say that a lot of this comes from my dad.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Same relationship I had with my dad.
Good.
Yeah, I love it. So you grew up, you had a great upbringing, a lot about basketball and UFC and boxing. And at some point, you dared to be funny in front of strangers. Tell me about that journey.
I'm an actor. A lot of people don't know. I've been in some horror movies. I got a Resident Evil credit. I played the hobo in the Polar Express in the live version. I've done a few things, and I was on stage. I was doing some theater at a winery show in Northern California, and the lights went out, and all they had left were the stage lights. And the director, he had a younger cast, and he, I already done my fighting, and I was kind of a goofy, outgoing guy as I am, and I was dressed as the magician that loses to Doctor Strange to be the greatest magician in the universe, kind of thing. So needless to say, I looked like I was in a 70s workout video. I had the sweat headband on, I had some spandex and some different outfits going on and stuff, and a homemade look like Mork from Ork shirt on. And so I was killing it. And and he said to me, TC, I need about 10 minutes. The generator's out of fuel. In order for them to get over and get the fuel over to here from where, from one point to the other, it's going to take about 10 minutes. And I need you just to go up there and do anything for me. And I had that, oh my God, what is he even talking about moment. And I was doing the character in a voice, and greetings. So I rolled out on stage and did a few odd movements and stuff in my spandex. So I got them laughing. And, it was Richard Simmons look kind of thing going on. And I told them that I would tell their futures. If they would ask me questions, I would tell them what their future was going to be. And the first lady, was slightly intoxicated because it was a winery, asked me if she was ever going to find true love. And I had a magic 8-ball in a pocket, and I reached over and I shook it. And I looked at the answer, and it said, "Ask me again later." And I pronounced as loud as I could with that voice, "Ask me again later." The place went nuts laughing. And I had that moment of, wow, you can really act like a dummy up here, and people like this, dude. So I looked over a few minutes later, and they were giving me the signal to get my butt off stage. So I scurried off, and later that night, the director, we had the notes of the evening, and he was nice enough to bring me out front of the cast and thank me for, doing what I did. And then personally pulled me to the side and said his friend owned the comedy spot in Sacramento and was going to introduce me to Brian. And then I went and did open mics.
Wow. Wow. So what year was that?
Oh, goodness. I think we're coming 5-6 years ago, I think, when we decided to go and really call myself a comedian around that time, and just went after it. So yeah, I think, 5 years, somewhere in that, coming on 6, something like that, somewhere around there. And I'm all in at this point. So It was fun.
What are some really good things that have happened, and what are some really strange things that you can think of without naming names and clubs?
Good things. Goodness, you know how this goes. I've met some amazing people. I met some of them I'm fans of. Like, I was joking about the Comedy Store. Running into Bobby Lee is one of those like moments where I remember watching him, and I grew up in a like I say, a mixed neighborhood. One of my best friends growing up was a Filipino kid, so his little things that he were doing were just, that guy killed me, still makes me laugh. We had a moment the other night where it was just facial expressions, and I laughed my butt off after I walked away from him. And then I've gotten to go places. I got to go to Atlanta and hang out with one of my good friends, Carrie Means. He's the voice of Frylock from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. We've had the pleasure of hanging out on my coast, but I didn't, so I got to go spend time with him and his wife and hang out and be normal, goofy dudes watching cartoons in his living room. We were a little intoxicated, and his wife was laughing at us, laughing at the TV. To just and like I say, traveling around, being funny in front of different people. You're funny in front of your family and your friends and your cat and stuff like that. But when you go on the road and you get in front of people and they like you and they think you're funny, it kind of makes you feel good as a comedian. So some of the weird stuff that has happened, I have on a recent road trip to go do comedy and do a movie, I ran across a dead person. The big rig in front of us had flipped over about 7 minutes ahead of us, and here we come cruising along in the rental van. And I ended up doing the Captain America thing, and I jumped out. I slid inside to check on the individual that was in there, and unfortunately, he was deceased. So, needless to say, 30 minutes later, we're in the van driving down the road, dead silence for another 45 minutes, and me and the other comedian are pretty big mouth, but we talked about it later over a drink, and it was a kind of an odd moment. So um, we were same trip, ironically, on the way back, ran across a fist fight at a gas station that we had pulled into to get gas. And this fist fight breaks out, and I got a little worried because being Jewish, I didn't get the good insurance on the van. So, you know what I mean? So I was like, wait a minute, I didn't spend the $13 extra today. You guys got to back up. So the other comedian jumped out and he tried to, get up in it a little bit. So it ended up being a situation. And wow, this was just, road trips are wild.
My goodness sakes. And so what do you want to accomplish in your comedy life that you haven't yet?
I really enjoyed being a regular. I loved doing the open mic at Extreme because it really put me in a club on a regular basis. I miss that a lot, with honestly a lot of my heart. Billy Bob was a really awesome human being for reaching out and letting me take the reins and getting the opportunity. And I miss that. And so I'm hoping to get myself back into, I don't want to say a residency or using goofy terminology, but I'd like to be regular at a club again and be able to go up and just work my material in front of people that want to laugh. Like I said, not the one guy who's waiting for the next sports score to come up and forget about his day at work. So I miss that a little bit. I also would like to find the regular, I am super envious of certain people for what they do for a living and how it's, I get to act and I get to tell jokes and all that stuff, but I don't have a Monday through Friday or whatever through whatever that is in the business per se. And that involves, I've been told since I was like 16, I should be on the radio. I feel like I got a decent enough voice and I'm a funny guy and I know how to not curse enough I'm looking for something like that. I was a professional fighter. I'd love to do like a sports thing, every week, something like that. I know I've talked to a couple of people about stuff like that. So I think that's pretty much where I'm just short of that for a professional, like day-to-day job where I still get to be my goofy self and I get to do what I love and honestly make a living at it, and then still go out on the weekends with you and just, have too many mimosas and have a great time and enjoy ourselves and, just be a bunch of hacks.
Yes, absolutely. So talk to us. We skipped over one little facet of your life, which may be big. Brag to me a little bit, be braggy about all that you've done in acting and all that you've done in comedy that you want people to know. Go for it. Don't hold back.
Ooh, don't hold back.
I want to hear it.
Recently I'm a stunt and fight coordinator as well as the goofy white dude or the dirty cop and a bunch of stuff. But I've had the pleasure of working with like Damien Hooker on the Evil series where I got to be in there with a bunch of rap stars and a bunch of just really fun people from Oakland and I got to play the dirty cop and that was fun because I was starting out with I was buying prop weaponry and stuff like that to kind of take the next step in the business. So a lot of the stuff you see in there is my stuff. And and it was cool because, you know, I appreciated that. And I still today, we still talk, we still work together. Those relationships are awesome and stuff like that. And, you know, being in the Resident Evil and the Siren song, playing the zombie in that, I mean, that I love that video game. I love that whole life. That was, you know, one of the funniest things I ever did. But, you know, having something on Netflix, having something that everybody can watch, you know what I mean? I think I'm actual title in the movie is industrial tool expert or something like that, because I carry around a saw that I'm going to cut people up with. But my nickname was called the asshole with the Uzi. I think that's what it ended up being. So that was just so much fun because, you know, we did things that I'd never done before on set, and I was in charge of things, and I had to come up with some ideas, and to see them now played out, just awesome. And that went big, you know, that went and ended up going to the film festival and doing really well out there, and was actually in the theaters, you know, not just on the Amazon Prime, that kind of thing. So, you know, it's kind of nice to get, you know, some of that stuff under my belt. But I'm a producer right now, Phoenix Rising Productions, just out of Seattle. We have a movie that we're filming. We just did the comic strip, which is about stand-up comedy, and I get to play kind of the jerk in that, which I'm only a jerk because the guy stole my jokes. But we're also doing one this month about the raid on the Capitol, and it's not based on one side or the other. It's not a political movie. It's just more of like what actually happened. A couple of Seattle cops actually went up there and did that stuff and participated, and then when they came back, they got fired, and they were high-ranking individuals. So we're going to tell some of that story. There's an FBI. I think I played the snitch. And then the month after that is Mobland. Sammy the Bull, a couple of
No
guys
way.
yeah, a couple of guys from The
Gravano?
Sopranos. Yes, a couple of guys are in it from The Sopranos, apparently. And I played the Irish mob boss, starring TC. So I'm super excited about some of the stuff that we got coming up. One of the scripts I wrote, we're gonna produce that and make that movie, so it won't just be me, the idiot, you know, in the movie for 5 or 10 minutes doing something stupid. But in the next few movies, I'm either starring or co-starring, or, you know, it's kind of a kind of cool thing. So that's where you get the bragging right there.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, who all have you shared the comedy stage with?
Oh wow, that's a good one. I mean, geez Louise.
Because in LA, oh my gosh, in the LA, Stockton, anywhere in California, you're going to run into them all.
I mean, that's it. I did the whole, I mean, I've been doing this for a few years. So yeah, there's been nights where, you know, it's TC Morgan's the headliner, and it was a bunch of young and upcoming guys. And now I look back and all those guys are solid comedians that are just killing it out in the Bay Area and the Northern California scene. And then there were nights where I went up and I was the opening act, you know, and I look back now and there's some of those guys. I'm just like, wow, they have become, you know, just gone to the next level. I mean, Rico the Great out of Oakland and Sacramento. I was always honored to be on stage with him, and Michael Calvin Jr. and you know, and I got lucky to do movies with like Lunel and Jerry O'Connell and Flex the comedian and guys like that. So it's you know, I've just been in a weird lucky mix that whether it be on stage or whether it be on screen, I've gotten the pleasure of being around people that are way funnier than I am. So I didn't have to carry anything. Plus, I get to just be my dumb, goofy self. And honestly, I've gotten some opportunities from making those people laugh in lunchtime and in private settings and off screen. So I look back on that, and that's really, yeah. I'm not a name dropper per se, but you know, Lunel and some of the people that I've gotten to work with, it just they my heart is with them. I've always been a fan, but for them to have treated me the way they treated me and the advice they gave me, and today still talk to me and still correspond with me and stuff, it's just you know, it like I say, my heart goes out to them because I will always be a fan, but now I consider those people friends, and you know, I'm a pretty loyal idiot. So
That's so cool. Can we switch over to your military life?
watch out now.
Because I'm Army. So I have
I
to hear, I thank you for really serving. I tell people while the men and women were over in Vietnam fighting, I was in Germany, mostly yodeling in the Alps.
Oh, meine Deutsch ist so la la. Die kommen aus Gymnasiumschule. Frau Weaver, much love. Um, so no, I joined the Navy at 17. I was on a president's pass. There's 5 of us in the nation that go in without an actual high school diploma. I had to score really high on my ASVAB, and it was just an amazing adventure. One of my proudest things in the world I've ever said was that I was a sailor, and when they gave me the nickname captain, it's been one of those. It's stuck. I was honored to be called that. I knew what it meant because I wasn't a captain at the time when they gave it to me and stuff, but it was just I got to serve alongside, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, people from every, rank, from every background of life. And I found that to be just a wonderful camaraderie. And no matter how much crap we give each other, I believe there's something, somebody once said something about, we've all spilt some blood in the same mud and stuff like that. I married an Army girl, a sergeant, played trombone for a couple of presidents. So I went and got me some brass for real. And, but
Your wife is a veteran.
yeah, she's got more rank than I do, I think, but no, not really. But she's better recognized. We'll leave it at that. But it's funny. I'd done everything, and I thought I was cool. She introduces me to a vice president and stuff like that. I mean, we've been going out, I don't know, a couple weeks or something like that. She takes me out and introduced me to the current sitting vice president at the time back then. And I thought, wow, I thought I was cool, but this chick just killed me on that. So I'd offered. I was like, let me just carry your bags for you, ma'am. So I fell hook, line, and sinker for one of them trombone players. Yeah.
That's so cool. So, do you have children, if you don't mind me asking? Personal.
No, I actually, one of those funny things was I have an ex-wife, and I have a daughter. She's 26 now. Boy, Dad better not mess that up, because I know she's not 27. No, she's my daughter Jordan is just oh man, I don't even know how to say how happy I am to be able to call her my daughter. She turned out 20 times better than me, and probably 40 times better than her mom. Joke. She has a wonderful, loving husband of 5 years, 2 kids, one's 4 and one's 2. Yes, unlike dad, she knew what she was doing. So I have these 2 little grandsons that I never thought I was going to be Grandpa Morgan, because I actually had a Grandpa Morgan, and he taught me how to fish and how to shoot and how to do all the cool things and, that kind of stuff. And now I have these 2 grandsons, and not too long ago they came over, and we were playing He-Man with the actual He-Mans. And I had a moment where there was just tears coming out of my eye. And, my daughter was like, Dad, yeah. I was like, honey, I never thought I'd make it here in life. I never thought that, I know that, sometimes things don't always work out. Me and her mom didn't work out. So obviously she had to deal with that. And I just always tried to be a good enough dad to where, I get it. You know what I mean? I'm to blame for as much as anything else. So I'm never one to run from my responsibilities there. But tried to see her through school and get her, all the things I could. She got an education, and it's so wonderful. She is such a great mom. She is just it's so fun. Actually, I got to see her and her husband coming back on that crazy road trip I was telling you about. They live up north, and we were just driving through, and it happened to be we came into their town, and so we all ended up at an Applebee's together, and we were hanging out and making the waiter laugh his ass off, and it was fun.
Wow. You accidentally met them, or you planned to meet up with them?
It's just, when you're on the road, you never know, because when you're driving on the road and you go through a town at 3 a.m, it's not like you're gonna run up and knock on somebody's door. You know what I mean? So I've always felt bad when I have friends that live in Portland, and I have friends that live here, and I have friends in Salt Lake City, and I have friends in Seattle, and you drive through like a maniac to get to where you're supposed to get, and then realization is you got to get home. You drive like a maniac to get home, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I'm sorry, but I didn't want to stop by at 2 a.m. I got lucky. We came into Idaho, and
Mhm.
it just happened to work out that the grandparents watched the two boys. So her and her husband came out and met us at the Applebee's, and she even had a drink. So she was laughing and having a good time, saying, she doesn't get that opportunity, so they were just there to have fun. And me and my comedian friend that had came with me, we were just, I was just so excited to be there, and we just had a blast. So yeah, it just worked out. It worked out good for me, but I try to be a good dad, try to be a good grandpa, try to be a good everything. Being on the road is not easy.
No.
So
And
uh,
that's what I want. I always like to stop. Not only do I like to thank the veterans like yourself, but I also like to thank you for the years of dedication to this craft of acting and comedy, and the sacrifice that it's taken a toll. So I'm not, it isn't easy to have priorities and keep relationships in their tip-top shape. Speak to that, because there's younger people coming up behind you that could use a little bit of advice.
so here's the thing. I have been called loyal like an idiot. Um, the guys that I trained with in martial arts, I still am friends, still call them brother, still take phone calls, messages, random moments in life. I've been an instructor, so I have students who are now started with me as young men and women. Even I used to run an MMA for teens program. So they are grown up now, still call me. I have guys that are fighting that are on the UFC and in current, world champions that still call me on occasion just for the, hey coach, man, can I talk to you for a few minutes? Um, I believe in the relationships that you build, and that I've been told networking is a huge part of what we do in this business. But remember how your grandma, your mom, somebody in your life taught you to treat people when you were there, when you were the new kid and you were scared and you didn't know anybody. That's how I try to treat people when I'm on the other side. And when I see you and I don't know you, and I can tell that you got that nervous energy and this is your first time or this or that, I always try to go out, reach out, and make those connections. I believe in that 1,000%. There's a couple of guys that I started comedy with. We started a little troupe after we'd all been doing it for a little while. We're the Broken Comics. We are still the Broken Comics. We don't live by each other. We don't talk to each other every day. We don't all go to shows together like we did for a long time. But right now, to the day, those dudes and me are super loyal to each other. Matter of fact, I took Nick Michelson to the Comedy Store with me to battle roast the first time. And that was just one of those. I love those guys, and I will always be with Nick and Jordan till the day that I die, and that'll be when I'm stop being a comedian at the same time. So there are people that you and I both know personally, like I talked about Billy, and we know other people in common. Those relationships I built simply by being who I am and being outgoing and loving, supportive, and reaching out, personal conversations. You have no idea how many people are in my messenger, and there ain't a bunch of pics of somebody's stuff. You know what I mean? It's a lot of deep, long, huge box conversations that and with some people that like you'd never even Carlos Anthony is one of the comedians that I personally call a friend and I look up to and I admire the men, and all that stuff. And we've had some wonderful human conversations. Jay Rivera is a human being I love. Those are people that we are all doing this and we're all reaching out. We're all trying to be comedians, and yet some of us are here and some of us are there, but never has any of that gotten mixed up in the friendships that we built and we don't let it interfere with business. I don't care where those guys go. I don't care whose card they do. I don't give a rat's patootie if they are working on the guy that just cursed me out, called me every name in the world, and made 17 videos bad about me. If those guys were booked on that show and all that, that's fine. I am not that kind of guy because I understand those people are like me. They're trying to express their art. And it's hard sometimes when the business and the friendship and all that stuff gets in the way. Just remember, be a good person. You got to go home and sleep with yourself. You got to go home and deal with yourself in the mirror. Be a good person. I get that the good guy finishes last, but you know what I mean? That's just wear the white cowboy hat every once in a while and see how it feels. Cause It's not a bad feeling. I appreciate the friendships that I have with everyone all over, from comedy, from acting, from dressing up as Captain America and going to the Comic Cons and doing that for a couple of years. I mean, from my martial arts, all of it. When I was a student, when I was an instructor, when you know, when I ran the stuff and everything, it's like those are some of my the things that I hold on to most truest in this world.
Fabulous. So tell everybody where they can follow you on social media and where to catch you out live coming
Well,
up.
I'm popping on the gram, as I was told to say. I'm not. There's some commercials on there, me shaving my back. That's not real hair. But I'm at the Captain TC. You can catch me at thecaptainscomedy.com. I finally got a website. It's not very good, but I got one. I do the Facebook. I'm TC Morgan on there. I think I'm also the Captain TC Morgan as well. I tried to make an extra one. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm old. I am not that sharp when it comes to some of that stuff. I get back to everybody though. I am good at that. I mean, I'll give you my phone number and my email. I don't even care. Just hit me up. You know what I mean? You're looking for a funny, goofy Jew. I got you right here. Well, I got to be honest. Only half Jewish, the other half is alcoholic. But I just and so this Saturday I am back in Vegas. I'm with Conan. So it's doing I don't know if it's a Royal Rumble battle with him and Kitty Pineapple and me and Adam Try to Drink with Me Dominguez and Wayne, some kind of a comedian. I think all of us are going in there. So I think it's going to be like an old school WWF thing and stuff. Only one person's coming out of the steel cage. So, but
No way.
no, I'm super excited. That is the, you know, last night I was at Parker Ty's spot over there at the tea room, and the camaraderie of some of the comedians here in town. It's amazing. I love being on cards. Like I said, I don't care if I'm headlining, I don't care if I'm opening. Some nights I sit back and laugh my butt off at the other comics and just enjoy the fact that we're all on a stage together. So I'm very excited Saturday to hang out with all those guys and try to be funny. Hell, I'll even try to be funnier than them if that's what it takes, but it's not going to happen. So I'm not going to work. But and then next time around, Copacabana, November 13th, me and Billy got another show coming. That's going to be a fun one. That's our last Saturday at the Copa. And then we're switching to Sundays.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Captain TC Morgan. My gosh. You're amazeballs. You know what I like most about you, other than you're a veteran of the Navy and other than you're also a comedian, I love your ethics that you put in.
Thank you.
If I had one word to cover all of this, ethics.
Thank you. I come from hardworking people. My dad was one of those guys that got up every day and at one point worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, because that was the job that he had. I'm very proud to come from those people. My grandma actually worked at the same cannery my dad worked at, and things like that. My grandpa played steel guitar with Johnny Cash at one point and stuff. So yeah, my grandpa Bob Wesley. It's we never got anything in this world for free, and I was taught from a young age, if you want something, you gotta go out there and bust your butt to get it. And so thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot to me.
It means a lot to me to get to know you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope all of my friends and fans follow you.
Anytime, give me a call, hit me on the gram. You know how it is. I'll pop in.
Bye. You're hilarious.
Bye. Thanks, love.
Bye. Love you.